here we are in Terra Nova still. And now we're working on our 9th segment, which is on absorption, the 9th power. In this segment on absorption, I'm basically turning my own personal attention to what has influenced me in my life, what I've turned my attention to because of that, and then what I've absorbed because of it. And so I'm looking at this segment as having to do with the absorption and dissemination of love, because that is where I have ended up. The absorption and dissemination of love. This began when I was inside the war in El Salvador, which I'm writing about now. I finally was able to write down the story just since we last met. I've been trying to for 32, 33 years. I've been trying to write it down. Haven't been able to because of PTSD. And I finally was able to break through. I witnessed extreme violence and every form of inhumanity. And since then, I've turned my attention to imagining and creating a different kind of world. So this has involved deep introspection, which has culminated in trying to create and participate in new forms of nonviolent humanitarianism, whatever that might mean. This process begins with trying to shape myself with spiritual practices. That's how it began. What I remember. I realize I'm trying to shape myself. I'm trying to shape myself by trying to remember certain things, very specific things. I realize that what I'm teaching myself creates what I turn my attention to, what I absorb, and then what I absorb in turn determines what I disseminate into the world. I whisper to myself, because this is edgy stuff, I am spiritual illumination, divine love, illuminated mind, and the life of the thriving cosmos. That is what I am trying to remember. I am the divine marriage of the microcosm and the macrocosm that exists in the heart of all that is. I am a healer, one who makes whole. That is what I am trying to remember. I am trying to remember that what I absorb, what I consume, what I receive matters, and what I emit matters just as deeply. I am trying to remember that I increase in fullness by absorbing specifically chosen aspects of the pan-original field, and that concomitantly I release specific materials into the field to be absorbed by others. All is ultimately absorbed into the field, where it is continually reconstituted and continually reborn. That's the power of absorption. I remember that what I remember carves itself deeply on my soul, and I remember that I am a walking body of memories and feelings and interpretations. This is absorption, the power of absorption. I know what I know because of what I have walked through. I am what I am because of how and what I have taken in and the ways I have transformed that information within the core of my own being. I am trying to remember that I want to be love walking, which is a spiritual practice. That's a daily practice, and one I need to remind myself of. It's one that I need to keep returning to over and over and over. It is like the bow tied around my finger, the little knot that says, do not forget, do not forget, do not forget. I remember, and in my effort to continue to remember, I code my remembrances. I code them by writing. So I write, and even if the words fail, or even if I disagree with my own words later, In so doing, I still record and transmit that which seems important in the moment. Anyway. By the way, this year, as I have mentioned many times, and I'll say it again, my motto is better done than perfect. Let's go for it. So in Visionary Cosmology, I wrote about the ancient Greeks saying that love was a god. Love is a god, the ancient Greeks said. And Socrates told all his companions that love is the ultimate master. Socrates learned this from the priestess Diotima. The greatest glory of love, Diotima, the priestess, taught, is that love can neither do nor bear wrong done to or from any god or human. Love does not require force to overpower, and even without the use of force, all serve love of their own free will. Where there is voluntary agreement, not incidentally, there is love. Love has to do with voluntary agreement. Diotima taught that love is the force most powerful. No force or form of passion can overpower love, not even pleasure. Love is master of force and pleasure. And when it comes to courage, even the god of war is no match for the god of love. And then I go back again and again to Henry Miller saying, love is the force most powerful. All other forms of protection eventually lead to war. And through all these years since this war I was in, this El Salvador war, I have striven to focus my attention on love and striven to condition myself with moving in the sphere of love, which helps me to overcome fear. I'm not going to go into it right now, but it was the most fear I ever felt in my life, being inside that place. And I reasoned to myself, love must be the answer. Because if love is not the heart and soul of life, what good can possibly come of having walked on this planet? What good can possibly come of this? Okay, so I want to focus on love. I want to focus on that which unites, not that which divides. And I want to learn how to love. I want to learn what that means. I want to stretch myself into love. I want to know what love means. I choose love. I choose to walk in love. I choose to be loved. Therefore, in choosing love, I have spent a lifetime trying to figure out what that means. Operationalizing that. What does it mean to operationalize love so that you can actually live it and walk this path? So what has emerged for me is a new paradigm, a paradigm to live by, a paradigm based on love. Okay, and this paradigm does align with the Tarot of the Spirit, with Kabbalah and Tarot, and with Visionary Cosmology. And then we move from there into the 10 powers of love. The 10 powers of love, and that's part of our lesson for this segment for Terra Nova. So the 10 powers of love goes something like this. Number 1, definition of ourselves. We change the definition of ourselves. Original being, ourself, number 1. How do we know ourselves? Well, here's how love knows itself, in the one. Love is born and awakens in the one. When we recognize that we are love awakening, we simultaneously realize that we belong. Finally, we can say, I belong here. I am made of universe. This is the paradigm. I belong here. I am made of universe. I am universe evolving, the anima cosma, the soul of the cosmos, and I am meant to be here, now. Absolutely. That's the number 1. Number 2, it impacts our aspirations to become love walking. And I should talk about my own self. You know, this is how it has impacted me. Attraction. Number 2, how we rise into our work, our calling. Love beckons us. Love calls us. Responding to the call of love requires that we love ourselves, even as we love others. And responding to love's call requires we recognize and take responsibility for our innate cosmological gifts, because each of us is unique, and that's meant to be, and we have gifts, and we are attracted to certain things, and that is what we are trying to recognize and celebrate in the second stage of love, the number 2, our attractions. And it also requires that we recognize the cosmological gifts of others, just as we recognize the gifts of ourselves. Okay, number 3, how does it impact our imagination? This is the third level of the paradigm. Imagination, creation, emergence. That's what it's called. Number 3, creation, emergence. How do we give birth to new ways of knowing? Well, love begets love. We can imagine and create an integrated, integral world that cherishes, sustains, and celebrates diversity. And that's how we start to work with giving birth with the power of love. Number 4, it impacts our systems, stabilization, which is systems and how we're going to stabilize those. How we stabilize in the midst of movement. Love stabilizes in this way. Love nurtures love. And so it stabilizes itself. And when we work from that part of the paradigm, love nurtures love, we can begin to create security systems that promote happiness. Instead of trying to guard everything, we can create security systems that actually promote happiness. And that's stabilization. Okay, then our methods, number 5, cataclysm. How we address pain, suffering, old age, and death from the point of view of love. Well, love is the courage to change, and love heals. So what we can do is we can begin to imagine and create collective love-based responses to human suffering. So that's in response to cataclysm, collective love-based responses. Then number 6, our strategies, synergy, how we work together. Each of us can offer our gifts, and then the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. And in this way, love embraces the heart of all. And that requires a long-sighted, process-based focus. And in that place where love embraces the heart of all, success is defined as participating with all of the earth communities, human, animal, environmental, to create vibrantly healthy life in every direction and in every dimension. Okay, now number 7, transmutation. This is the 10 powers of love, right? I'm outlining. Transmutation, this is our response. It's a next layer. How we deepen through transmutation. We willfully immerse into a more expansive vision. We seek ways in which love transforms the universe. This requires continually searching for meaning and continually adapting in order to live a vitally alive, day-to-day, visionary experience in the midst of ongoing change. Because one of the things we learn is we're never going to get things completely stabilized. It's always going to be moving. So if we put love at the forefront, we can start figuring out ways to operationalize that and keep going deeper in the process. Our institutions, this is number 8. Our institutions, symbolization, how we encode our experience so that we can pass it on. We can encode love and the process of love and the power of love in our arts and in our cultures. And we do this as we imagine ever new ways of being and becoming. What we're doing is practicing the creation of new symbols. We're building, we're imagining, we're inventing new symbols, building a new symbology that promotes our continuing healthy evolution. And then number 9 is our internalized personal and collective values. That's what goes in and moves on to the subconscious level and then is going to get lived out in the world. So number 9, what we absorb matters. This is the power of absorption. Number 9, love remembers love. And when love remembers love, love remembers to love. We are internalizing values that honor, heal, and sustain ourselves and our community Then, number 10, this is how we live this in the outside world. Our sensibilities, radiance, love shines. The universe is resplendent. We are radiating cosmic beauty. We are participating efficaciously in the evolution of the cosmos. And this enhances our sense of meaning and provides us with an inalienable sense of belonging. So these are steps that we can take this paradigm of love and we can overlay it on the rest of the 10-point paradigm that we are working on, and it just takes on another layer and another level. This is really important right now because since technology and globalization, since all these things have happened, all these jobs are being eliminated, and what we need to do is create new forms of economy that are going to work for everyone. This is going to be a big challenge ahead of us. Obama was talking about this, and he said one of the biggest challenges to our democracy is that we don't share a common baseline of facts. He said, F-A-C-T-S, facts. He said, we are living in completely different information universes. If you watch Fox News, then you are living on a different planet than if you listen to NPR. So he says if you're getting all your information off algorithms that are sent through your phone, that reinforces whatever biases you have, essentially. And he talked about this experiment during the revolution in Egypt in Tahrir Square. Somebody took a liberal, a conservative, and a moderate and sent them on a Google search. Type in Egypt, Egypt, and see what comes up. Okay, so for the conservative typing in Egypt, it comes up Muslim Brotherhood. For the liberal typing in Egypt, it comes up Tahrir Square. And for the moderate, it comes up great vacation spots on the Nile. That is this space that we're living in right now and why we're having trouble communicating with each other. What we turn our attention to matters. It matters totally, because what we turn our attention to is what we're going to absorb. And what we absorb is what we're going to live into the world. Okay, one of the things that I have absorbed, and I feel like it is really worth conveying right now, is the Declaration of Human Rights. And I feel like this should be taught in every elementary school on up, because it's a starting place that we can all begin to work from to operationalize love. So I wanted to share with you the Declaration, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, the abbreviated version, just so you can get a feel for it. This was adopted after World War II, December 10th of 1948 by the United Nations, and it's 30 articles that basically outline the view of human rights at the time. And as of this writing right now, or this talk, there are 192 member states in the United Nations, and all of which uphold this declaration. So all the member nations, which is all the nations in the world, uphold the Declaration of Human Rights. So I say, here is a place we can begin, because it's pretty abstract till we start moving it into these very specifically coded materials that we can then adopt as value systems, and then we can start working with them. This Declaration of Human Rights, by the way, has been translated into 500 languages. It's really an important document. So here's what it is. I translated it into my own language which is language that I thought would work for you, to simplify it and to give you the essential version. So here it is. I'm just going to give it to you. 1, these are the articles. 1, all people everywhere are born free and equal with reason and conscience. 2, all people everywhere are entitled to human rights regardless of race, sex, language, religion, and so on. 3, all people everywhere have the right to life, liberty, and security. 4, all people everywhere have the right to not be enslaved. 5, all people everywhere have the right not to be tortured. 6, all people everywhere have human rights under the law no matter where they go in the world. 7, all people everywhere are equal before the law. 8, the human rights of all people everywhere are protected by law and competent tribunals. That's the dream. 9, all people everywhere have the right to not be arbitrarily arrested, detained, or exiled. 10, all people everywhere have the right to a fair public trial. 11, all people everywhere are innocent until proven guilty. 12, all people everywhere have the right to privacy. 13, all people everywhere have the right to travel freely. 14, all people everywhere have the right to seek asylum from political persecution in another country. All people everywhere, number 15, all people everywhere have the right to a nationality and the right to change their nationality. 16, all people everywhere have the right to marry with the free and full consent of both parties and to bear children. Partners have equal rights during marriage as well as when a marriage is dissolved. 17, all people everywhere have the right to own property. 18, all people everywhere have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. 19, all people everywhere have the right to freedom of opinion and expression. 20, all people everywhere have the right to association and public assembly. 21, all people everywhere have the right to democracy. 22, all people everywhere have the right to Social Security, which means affordable housing, medicine, education, and child care, and assistance in old age and during illness. 23, all people everywhere have the right to equal pay for equal work and to create and join trade unions. 24, all people everywhere have the right to rest and leisure. Therefore, working hours must be reasonable. 25, all people everywhere, including mothers and children, elders, unemployed, and disabled people, have the right to an adequate standard of living. 26, all people everywhere have the right to education. Parents have the first right to choose the education that will be given to their children. 27, all people everywhere have the right to copyright their creations and writings. 28, all people everywhere have the right to a fair and free social and international order in which the rights of this declaration can be realized. 29, all people everywhere have the responsibility to uphold and protect others' rights and freedoms. 30, all people everywhere have the right not to have their human rights taken away. That is the UN International Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it is a really good place to begin if we want to begin to operationalize what love looks like from an international point of view. I'm going to end this by saying again that what we absorb matters. And I'm going to be talking about this a lot more later with regard to myself, and what I have absorbed and what that has led me to in this particular life. I want to end by saying, may we absorb a sense of unity. That's what I want to absorb, and that was part of the impetus for creating Terra Nova, is to move into those things that unify rather than to continue to uphold those things that are fear-based and that divide. I say now is the time for all of us to live the deep wisdom and understanding of our singularly beautiful souls. May we walk bravely into a new kind of world, the world that we're creating together, individually and together. And together, I really truly believe that no matter what the outcome might be, there's never really an outcome. It's always moving and changing. But that in terms of the present and in terms of the process, that we really and truly can focus on and become being love walking. The end. That's what I'm trying to absorb. That's what I'm trying to bring in. And that is what I'm trying to disseminate. May all people everywhere be free from suffering, and may I dedicate my life to making it so.